All right, so this week, start transitioning to our in-season processes. As a staff, you got to start getting ready for, scout team setups, the weekly game planning process, all those things. Players have to understand their role, know what it is. And, around here, I think the important thing is that, you accept your role, you embrace it, and you work to get more. Whether that means, you're a 2 or you're a scout team guy that's working to move up the ladder a little bit. So we've had a camp that I'm really pleased with. I think it puts us in position to have a really good football season. But like I told the team yesterday, now's whenever it really starts. Now's when it really counts. So, I'm proud of the work that we've done to this point. Certainly, every team right now would say they've got a long way to go to be the team they want to be in the end, and we do too. But we've had a camp, I think, that puts us in position where we've kind of figured out what our identity is on offense and on defense, who we are on special teams, start putting those pieces in place a little bit. And, we've got another, couple weeks to get it all tuned up before we got to go do it for real.
Do you have a sense of what you want the identity to be, or do you sort of figure it out as you go?
Well, I think you always know the things that you believe in, but every team is a little bit different, and it might just be something as simple as, all right, your run game, or you can be a gap scheme team or a zone, right, or inside, outside, whatever, So I think you kind of have an idea of what you want to be, and you don't stray from the things that you believe in. But you got to figure out what that team can do well. And so, through spring, the summer, and fall, that's really what we've looked at as a staff is what can we call, what can we do, what can we scheme to put our kids in position to have success, and what do they do well. So that's the fun part about coaching is you're constantly trying to find things that help your kids play faster, play better, and have a little bit of an advantage.
As the camp has progressed, what can you say kind of about the intensity of the team as they're practicing and preparing for the kickoff?
I'm proud of them. I told them, I appreciate the effort that they put in every day they came out here. Football is an emotional game, and it's played with a certain type of energy and passion. I think you have to practice with it too, It can't just be business-like every day where you just go out there and just kind of go through it. You can go through the motions, or you can really go out there and work and play with a certain type of edge. I think you have to practice with that edge. So I don't think there's a switch you can turn on and off. We demand that type of energy and effort, and our players, they embrace that. So, I don't think it cranks up as you get closer. It should be there all the time. Hopefully it's maybe a little bit easier for them to be motivated to do it. But the reality of it is that, you have to practice with a certain edge if you want to play with it.
How would you compare the camp so far? I know it's not totally over. Chandler last year to Chandler this year. How has he responded?
Chandler's just an incredible kid. He had a great camp last year, and coming out of it, that's why, we went with him as a starter in the opener. He had a really good camp again this year. I kind of said in front of the team, to me, he's the example of what you want on your team. He had a tough year last year, man. He gets banged up. He didn't play great in a couple games, which we didn't play great. Gets banged up. We call on him later in the year to come back in there, and he came back in and played really well for us. And he's never changed his demeanor or his approach. He's the same kid every day. He works really hard for his teammates, and I know that, if his number gets called and he's got to go out there, I know he'll play really well. That's just, he's proven it. And he exemplifies exactly what you want in a teammate. And in a world where, no one does that anymore, right? Everybody takes off as soon as they can. He said, I haven't graduated yet. This is home for me. I'm whatever role I'm asked to do, I'm going to do. I just want a chance to go out there and go compete and go do it well. And he has.
Now, has that been like the identity of your football team? Him just saying, I would do whatever it takes. Has that been the identity of your football team overall?
Well, that's what you want it to be, and we'll find out here in the next couple of weeks, when some of these guys, the reality, hits that, everybody's repping 1s, 2s, and 3s, and everybody's feels like they got a chance to get on the bus. But, the reality is that you got to get down to 70 when you play conference games on the road. So, that's what you want it to be. You want people to have that type of mentality and understanding that, hey, look, I went out there, I busted my tail, I did everything I could. This is where I'm at right now. I'm going to keep working. The one thing that we talk about all the time is that, it's a quote. It says, when the opportunity arises, it's too late to prepare. And I believe in that. It goes back to the old Coach Robe adage. If you don't work while you wait, when your opportunity comes, you won't be ready and someone else will take it. So that's what you want. We talk to our team about that. There's a handful of guys every year that start the year on practice squad. And by the time you get to week 3, 4, 5, 6, and later, they're playing in some capacity. Pierce Meagle in 2018 is a walk-on tight end, true freshman. Week about 8, we end up having to pull him up, and he plays in 4 games as a true freshman walk-on. Jake St. Andre is a guy who last year he was on scout team, everything, even special teams. By week 4, he starts playing on special teams, starts taking jobs on special teams. By the end of the year, he's playing on all of them. So there's so many this season. There's so many ebbs and flows, and certainly you wish injuries wouldn't happen, but it's just not realistic, and you hope guys will work while they wait. You hope that they understand, like, hey, this is my role right now. It's temporary if I do this a certain type of way. But, yeah, you hope you got a team full of that. And I think we'll find out pretty soon, what those types of guys are made of, because, there's value, man. I learned, my freshman year, I redshirted. I was on scout team every single day. I didn't travel to one game. Shoot, I tell the quarterbacks all the time, I didn't get to throw a ball in fall camp. I'd go down and do inside run every day and hand it off, and I'd get to watch 7-on-7 and watch team reps. I learned a lot about myself. I got to go practice when we get to fall camp. I get to practice against Antoine Spann and C.C. Brown, and Lamar was already a starter on defense, and all these guys that were on defense. I got better. And, it's all about the way you approach it. I either get to or I have to mindset that, if you have to, well, you probably won't get a whole lot out of it. If you get to and you go out there and take advantage of it, you'll come out of this thing either in the middle, back end of the year a lot better than you went into it.
You mentioned about the run game. Obviously you have different style backs, but have you seen a certain run scheme work better, whether it's gap, outside zone, inside zone, that you guys have liked to call a little bit more, that's worked better for you thus far in camp?
Yeah, but we're not going to go into that. We'll let everybody see that whenever it happens. But yeah, you figure out, you circle in on what you do a little bit better than others, and that's that's the idea, man. You get 15 practices in the spring, you get the whole summer to work. You get fall camp. I think you really have to be intentional about what you're doing, and we do a lot of stuff, right? You throw a lot of it on the wall and you kind of see what sticks a little bit, and then as you get through spring, you're like, okay, we're probably more of this than that. Well, let's do a little bit more of it, and then by the time you get to this point, you really have to be intentional, and you really kind of have to look at those things to say, all right, well, this is what I think is going to give us the best chance to be successful.
Any takeaways from the scrimmage Saturday? Good, bad, need improvement, whatever?
Yeah, well, it's scrimmaging. Against yourself sucks. Anything you do great on defense, on offense, you're like, and it's vice versa. So it's I'm ready to play somebody else. But yeah, certainly. I thought, so we did a couple situations early just to rep them, talk about the philosophy and those things. When we went to the live quarter, played about a quarter and a half of just football, offensively moved the ball really well, scored it really well. Defensively, I don't think we got off to a really good start. Then you get to the end and we play an overtime period, offense against defense, and defensively really kind of bowed our necks, made some plays, created negative plays. Offensively, some of it, is self-inflicted. The things you take away from there is on defense, you got to start fast. On offense, you got to execute in that critical situation. It's overtime, man. You play 4 quarters, you bust your tail to get to overtime. You got one drive, and there is no do-over. So, you never know what situations are going to be the critical ones in the game. And every game you play, doesn't matter if you win by 3 touchdowns or you lose by a point. There's 4, 5, 6 critical plays throughout the course of the game that change the game either way. And you don't know what it's going to be. So you're proud of the defense executing in some of those situations. Offensively, you need to clean it up and need to do it a little bit better. We had a couple of penalties offensively that start you behind the sticks. On defense, we had one that when you're in a backed up situation, you get a penalty. 2 of them, it gets you out of a backed up situation. Now you get to full punt, you get to flip the field, all those things. So, penalties are always the things. You got to protect the football, right? You talk about scoring in the red zone, but you cannot beat yourself. And we had a handful of those penalties that we've got to get cleaned up. In college, it's funny. At every other level of football, you have a practice game, right? You get a scrimmage in high school, you get a jamboree. In the NFL, they play 3 preseason games. The nightmare, right, that whenever you're in college is, for me, is you go out there week 1 and you look sloppy and you look like you haven't practiced. You look like you weren't ready for the situations. That's you want to go out there and go play good ball week 1. You want to go out there and look like you got a plan. The kids know the plan. They execute it well. So that's kind of what you try to. That's really what you try to get out of the scrimmages and that's why we went with a quarter and a half where we just played ball and got to kind of deal with the ebbs and flows of that. So a lot of things, a lot of guys have really stepped up and played better. Offensively can't have negative plays, can't drop the ball, and defensively we need to start a little bit faster. And I think, we can get those things accomplished. We'll be happy with it.
Coach,
Time for a couple more.
as you transition into, this final week of camp before you hit a true game week, what are you hoping to see out of your team, not just on the field, but from a mental aspect as well in this final week of camp?
Well, so camp really, and to me, camp breaks whenever you start school. I think in some ways camp is easier because, you're locked into this bubble a little bit and it's all about football. It's all about getting yourself ready to go out there, go practice, go compete, go perform. Now you start school. And now there's a whole nother, this is the real world, right? There's a whole nother set of things and distractions that are outside. And what we talk to our team about is we talk about culture all the time. We have to work really hard to develop a culture of consistency in everything that we do. And it's everything. It's from the time that you go to sleep. It's your morning routine. What do you do in the mornings when you get up? It's planning out your next day. It's making sure that that you're at where you're supposed to be at on time to start the day. Otherwise, the whole rest of the day is shot. It's making sure that whenever you get back over here to go to practice, you've eaten, you're hydrated, you're ready to go. Your mind is focused on what's in front of you, not what happened in class today. Not what your girlfriend said, whenever you were hanging out at her house yesterday. There's just a lot of distractions that go into it. And, we get a week to try to fine tune those processes and create a little bit more consistency in our routine before we have to go do it, whenever it counts.
Where's the kickoff return at right now? Did you guys work through? You said some situational stuff this past Saturday. Y'all kind of dip into that a little bit.
Yeah, we work special teams as well. Kickoff return, we have some capable guys back there. Zylan Perry is one that I think has a chance to be really pretty dynamic back there. Rob Williams, and Jake Bernard's worked back there quite a bit as well. I think Zylan's got a chance to be really special for us. But kickoff return's only as good as you block them. So we've got guys that are more than capable of it. A one-on-one block, all right, in the open field on kickoff return is one of the hardest things to do in sports. You got to sprint back, you got to turn around, you got to find your guy, you got to block him and get him out of the way whenever you got 30 yards in between you so someone can run in there and hit it. So we work really hard. We have a progression to it. You continue to try to get as many reps as possible. So the next couple of weeks, before we get ready for it, these reps will be critical to make sure we have the right guys in there. You got some that do a really good job. Some of them have really hard jobs to do. And you got to figure out who can do the hard things better than the other guys. And, you really just want to give your return a little bit of daylight and give them an opportunity to kind of get loose.
Football season actually starts this week. Are you going to watch anything?
Yeah, hopefully. So we've, this week we're kind of working on some of the game plan stuff. So Saturday we'll probably be able to have a little bit of time off, for the coaches. They haven't had a day off in a while. So Saturday we ought to be able to take a little bit of time away and hopefully watch a little bit of football. I couldn't tell you who's playing or anything like that, but every night when I get home, there's some kind of game on from last year. So I've been watching something pretty much every night on TV. I think everybody's got the itch a little bit.
Coach, could you talk about Jasper's progress now that he's going to play a bigger role in punt return?
Jasper's role in punt return?
No, Jasper's role as a linebacker. And also, he asked about kickoff return. What about punt return?
Oh, I was like, man, I was like, okay. I was like, well, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, Jasper is a guy who's really, from the time he's gotten here, always been really impressed with his athleticism, but he came into a room that was pretty stacked up with guys that knew the system, had played quite a bit. So, the first year here, he's kind of, he's really just behind some guys who played quite a bit. And then he had some injuries that kind of nagged him a little bit. Last year, he played quite a bit for us on defense and played well in spots. This year, he's grown up as a leader, which he needs to as a senior. He's grown up as a leader. He understands the defense a whole lot better. And, now he's playing at a tempo where his athleticism really it can be put on display a little bit. So we expect Jasper to play really well. I think having Kendra Gant right behind him gives you a good 1-2 punch there, which we've done for a long time, played multiple guys in those spots. So, you feel like with Jasper, you want to go cut loose, go play full speed. Whenever you need a tap, we've got a guy that's more than capable to go do it. And, Gant's competing his tail off right now. So, that pushes Jasper. Jasper pushes him, and that's the way it's supposed to be. So for us, he's really, I don't know. I'm excited with the progress he's made and the way he's grown up. And I think as we kind of start to hone in on the game plan for everybody, right now, I think when you get to end of camp, that's the hardest that it is because the whole defense is in, the whole offense is in. There's so many moving parts that, you haven't like zeroed in on, okay, this is what they do. This is how we're going to play defense against it. And Jasper's done a good job with all of it. So I think he'll just play even faster whenever he gets it narrowed in on a game plan. Punt return, that's something that last year, was pretty elite, with Eric Garrett back there. Jake Bernard is taking a lot of the reps right now on punt return. Jake is really, really sure-handed, great decision maker, which Eric is what he ended up being. And Jake's got a lot more ability maybe than probably what people give him credit for. He's really elusive. He's shifty. He's got some play strength. I'm excited for him because I think that's something that he can really shine at. Pete goes back there. Pete catches him a little bit too. Rob Williams has taken quite a few reps on punt return as well. Going into, right now today, Jake is the one I'd expect to go out there unless some things, change in the next couple of weeks. But again, punt return, you got to hold them up a little bit to get them loose, to get them a crease. And I thought punt return was really, really good in the scrimmage. I thought we had guys that really competed up front. Coach Pascal does a really good job with schemes and understanding, who are the guys that we got to double, who are the guys that cover kicks that do a really good job on the other team. And the idea, man, is to me, it's always let's create an explosive on a return. You get 15 yards on a return. Well, that's an explosive play. That helps. That changes field position a little bit. So Jake is a guy that if we can get him a little crease, he can get loose and he can do some damage out there for us. And it's a guy that you can put back there. You can trust him to make good decisions. And that's key. You can't, you can't give possessions back. So having a guy back there that's going to do it the right way is something that you obviously hang your hat on.